Okay. You're all set?
Okay, great. Good evening, everybody. This is Brendan Magnan, Chair of the Milford Inlands Wetlands Commission. Going to call to order the August 16th, if you can believe it, regular meeting of the Milford Inlands Wetlands Agency. Lisa, please call the roll.
Ranjit Bahav, Daniel Bedecker.
Here.
Jim Connors.
Here.
Matthew Connors.
Here.
Dave DeFlameri.
Here.
Heather Donaldson Gladue. Steve Munson.
Here.
Julie Valvo. Brendan Magnan.
I'm present. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Just as a reminder, as we continue to host remote meetings, please mute all of your lines until recognized by the chair. In accordance with the Freedom of Information Act and Governor Lamont's executive orders, this meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the City of Milford website. We're broadcasting live on YouTube. During this meeting, if anyone would like to speak or be recognized, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. And then wait for me to recognize you. Once recognized, please state your name and address for the record. If you're not a commissioner, if you're a commissioner, just state your name. Let's see. Let's now move to agenda item B. Let's all please stand, unmute yourselves, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we've got
I pledge allegiance. You got it?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States,
of America and to the
and to the republic for which it stands,
and
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Excellent.
Mr. Chairman, if you could declare alternate Commissioner Matthew Connors a voting alternate.
So moved, so declared. Thank you, Mr. Connor.
Thank you.
Moving on to item C, public comments. Is there anyone attending from the public that would like to speak on topics that are not otherwise on the agenda? Moving on, if there's no one from the public that would like to address the commission, we'll move on to item D1. Mary Rose, can you take us through D1, please?
Sure. This is the violation that we issued on July 17th to Marion Residential for clearing work in and within 100 feet of a wetland and watercourse in the Indian River watershed. That site was developed back in 2003, 2004 by Avalon Bay under our wetland permit 98004. I'm sorry, 084. The vegetation and plantings that were approved in that application had been cleared between the recreation center and the brook, and the soil was open. At your meeting on July 19th, you ordered that they stabilize the site, remove a pile of fill, stockpile, and topsoil, straw, and seed to stabilize the site until they could get it analyzed by a soil scientist and surveyed. They did that in a timely manner. The grass is growing quite nicely, and the silt fence is in and protecting the brook and the wetland. We received an email yesterday from Alan Shepard of NOK that he and Jim McManus of JMM Wetlands Consulting have been hired, and they anticipate that they will have the information required to us in September as ordered. I recommend no action on this item this evening.
Excellent. Thanks for the summary. Looks like everything's going according to plan. Appreciate the recommendation. Considering that, we'll move on to the next agenda item E1, please.
Oops, my screen moved. Okay, item E1 is IWA 230047. That's 13 Yale Ave. It's a proposal by the property owners to remove overgrown and invasive species from the yard area and a portion of the adjoining lot that's owned by the Morningside Homeowners Association. The work proposed is in and within 100 feet of a wetland in the South Central Shoreline watershed. And authorization, Commissioner Bave is joining. An authorization to apply from the Morningside Homeowners Association has been received. The yard slopes from the intersection of Yale and Marketplace back towards Edgefield Avenue. There's approximately a 6-foot grade change from the intersection to the rear property line. And there's an intermittent water course that runs just over the property line on the Morningside Homeowners Association land. The site plans are by landscape architect, the soil report, and the Morningside Homeowners Association authorization letter, along with my site walk notes and photos, are in the document links, and I can share them for you. Mr. Chairman, this evening we have Steve Dancer, a professional wetland scientist for the project, and Bradley Bowman is representing the property owner with you this evening. I turn it back to you, Mr. Chair. If you'd like, I'll share my site walk photos.
That'd be great. Thanks, Mary Rose, for the introduction. Let's go ahead and have you walk through this photos, and then we'll introduce Mr. Dancer for him to present any additional information.
Okay, just to orient you to the site, I'm going to show you the map first. This is Edgefield Avenue, it goes by Foreign High School. This is Yale Avenue, one of the main entrances into Morningside. And this is Marketplace. This is the residence at 13 Yale Avenue. And water generally flows from this intersection of Yale and Market back into the corner here, where you can see Mr. Dancer has outlined the wetlands line. And there is a structure or wall over on this side of the yard. And this area here with the extensive plantings is the Morningside Avenue Association property. Beyond this dot dash line is the plantings proposed for this yard area. We'll show you the site photos. These were taken back in May when I first spoke with Mr. Bowman about the property. I'm standing in the driveway looking down towards that back corner. Morningside property is probably about where these trees are. This is the low spot on their lot, and this is the home and deck. This is a close-up of that back corner. There's some skunk cabbage along the fence and some other wetland appropriate plants. And the area back in here, that's the property line with Morningside, has a significant amount of invasives. This picture standing back in that corner looking up. This tree was considered a hazard and has been removed. But looking at the yard area, you can see we still have sloping in this general direction. And that's looking at the tree from the street. We're standing on Yale Avenue, looking back at that corner again. Marketplace property, I'm sorry, the Morningside Association property is to my right. And this is the beginning of the Morningside Association property. This is the entrance. There's a drainage swale here. And if you've walked along here, you know there's an intermittent water course that runs along Edgefield in this area. And then there's Steve's report with, I believe, a map at the end. Here we go. And Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Dancer and Mr. Bowman are here to answer your questions.
Thank you, Mary Rose. Very helpful overview. Mr. Bowman first, and then Mr. Dancer. Do you have anything that you would like to add to the record?
Yeah, hi, everybody. No, I don't really have anything to add. You know, I think we have a great vision to make this property beautiful. It's an entryway into a really beautiful community, and the house was recently renovated. Contractors left the yard in shambles, and we just really kind of have a vision to make it very pretty and to improve everything. For the specifics of it all, I'll definitely defer to Stephen here, who's been very helpful. Yeah, no, that's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for coming before us and your efforts. Mr. Genzer.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Steve Danzer. I'm the principal of Stephen Danzer, PhD and Associates LLC, office in Stamford. I'm actually here on behalf of Tracy Chalifaux, landscape architect, who, as her title behooves her, she was the designer of the site plan. Unfortunately, she could not. She's out of the country right now, so she could not make this. However, I've been involved with this project since day one. I don't have anything real to add. I just have two qualifications, actually, just to point out. One thing is that this property, as Mr. Baumann has alluded to, has been heavily disturbed in the past. There's fill mingling with the wetlands all over the place. There's fill. Most of the upland is fill. The other thing is that, yes, there is an intermittent watercourse, but it's literally buried in a sea of invasives, brambles, and otherwise kind of hostile vegetation. It's like almost impossible to see from any side. It's not the most pretty of wetland areas, and that's kind of the impetus behind Ms. Chalifaux's site plan, is that she wants to take out the invasives and put in a more functional wetland plants that also are a little bit more aesthetically appealing to the property owner. And that's about it. Any questions, I'm more than happy to try to answer.
Great, thanks very much, Mr. Danzer. Do you have any questions from the commissioners regarding the application or the approach?
Chairman,
Mr. Munson?
I guess two questions. When was the disturbances done and who did it?
I will take a stab at answering that. I think a lot of this dates back from when they actually constructed the house. I think under today's policies, it's questionable whether a house like that would be even allowed to put there because it's just so close to the wetlands. I think historically the wetlands actually extended up a lot closer to the residents. They just excavated, to do the foundation and dumped the fill around the periphery. And as far as the old foundation, I couldn't answer that, but there's some disturbance around the foundation in the south west corner, but that's been there for a very long time.
Mr. Munson, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. When was the most recent work done on that house?
I think I'd defer to Mr. Baumann.
Yeah, I think that the interior and there was interior of the house was remodeled within the last 2 years, I believed. I believe there was some exterior work done. The house is repainted. A tree had fallen into it. Roof was replaced. I believe at around the same time, probably within the last 2 years. We just recently purchased the house. My mother-in-law just purchased the house within the last 4 or 5 months. So I'm not exactly sure of the time frame that it was remodeled, but within the last 2 years, I would say.
Go ahead, Mr. Munson.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. When was the house last reoccupied?
Sorry, can you clarify the question? What do you mean? Mr. Munson, when was the house reoccupied? What does that mean?
When was the house last occupied?
To my knowledge, I think that the previous owner moved out also within the last 2 years. I don't think it was vacant for very long, if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. I don't know. I don't have anything else at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioner?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mary Rose.
To Mr. Danzer. Steve, you said the quality of the vegetation around the intermittent water course is low quality. It appeared to be a significant amount of invasives choking a lot of the vegetation out to me. What's your impression of the wetland soils? We've got a wetland that kind of bumps in towards the house, then comes back out, and then there's a odd little wall over here. What's your impression of the wetlands on the property?
Well, the wetlands, looking at the map where it says existing lawn over wetlands, that is basically what it is. It's lawn over wetlands. That's a sloped, it's a sloped area and there's like 1 or 2 skunk cabbages, which I think was captured in your photographs along that periphery. And if memory serves me, there was a sedge or 2 somewhere in front of the old foundation. The rest of the wetland soil is basically historic wetland soil with stuff growing on top of it. I made a couple of forays into the intermittent watercourse from the Edgefield Avenue side, and I don't even recollect even seeing. There was some native vegetation, like there's some wild cherry and other stuff, but I actually don't even recollect even seeing any wetland vegetation. It was like pachysandra, then a lot of invasives such as multiflora, bittersweet, garlic mustard, stinging nettle, things like that. So as far as vegetation wise, it wasn't very much. There wasn't a lot of that type of quality, to it. There was really nothing in there that in that wetland system that had any semblance to a natural system that I was familiar with. And the other thing is, like I said before, about that lawn over wetland soil, the reason why that bumps out from wetland 1 to wetland 8 is only because they filled up to the periphery. I think historically that area probably extended a lot farther. I think previous ownership or previous or the initial development did a pretty good job of eradicating the wetland in order to prepare the area for site development. And if you look at the property to the south, that's fully developed, and I don't think that wetland extends anymore because I believe that's at a slightly higher elevation where more or less the same thing happened with that property as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danzer. In your expert opinion, Mr. Danzer, as part of the overall design, and I know you're not speaking for the landscape design, but maybe you're a proxy to it, that professional. Wouldn't we need to have some sort of native shrubs in that area that we're just talking about, so that doesn't get mowed over and is not treated as a lawn per se? That there's certainly seems like there needs to be some demarcation, whereas the other the design of the landscape planting seems to sort of naturally protect the wetlands.
Yes, I understand. I think the initial concept that Ms. Chalapo was going was to work with the property as it is now. And as of now, when you stand on the driveway, unless you did the soil samples or you had a keen enough eye to notice the 1 or 2 skunk cabbage, that area is functionally lawn over wetlands, and it's just part of his front yard. There's very little or side yard. I guess it would be front yard because that's where I believe the door is. But in any case, there's not very much usable property there. So I think the decision was made, at least initially, is to continue that area as it's always been, but in exchange, do what you can to improve the wetland, the corridor aspect of the wetland, and focus on putting native plants in there. I think that was kind of the compromise that was made.
Could we, could you take an action to consult with her and just ask her to consider a more balanced approach? It seems like, what we would be concerned with, and I'm not sure if others have the same concern, but if there's a way of restoring that area or preserving it, or it probably has low functions and values based on what you're describing, but I guess I would like some consideration around that.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to open that discussion with her. And the other thing is on that wetlands, it doesn't connect to anything. It connects to a fence and then the upland next door. And I think that was the other thing that Ms. Chalifo was considering, as compared to the wetland corridor that at least is part of a larger corridor. But I'll be more than happy to open that discussion with her.
I definitely agree. It makes more sense, is more of a compelling impact. What are others' opinions based on this presentation? You're seeing this for the first time as well. Any other thoughts on that area? Anyone? Mr. Bedecker.
Yeah, Commissioner Bedecker, could we see the site photos again of that corner where the skunk cabbage was and seemed like a very steep grade there? I mean, from the driveway.
Yep, just pointing out that this general area next to Flag 8 is about where those pictures, I was standing here by the street, over by the apron, and the pictures are taken for there. Just a second while we go all the way to the top. So this is standing on the street. These are the skunk cabbages back in the lower part of the yard. We've got an architectural drawing. We don't have a survey. So you can see the slope. Looking at the aerial topography we have from aerial photos, there's about a six foot difference between the intersection of the street and the elevation in the backyard. Are these the photos you wanted to see?
Yes.
Okay. So I think you can kind of see where the bump would be.
Would seem like there could be like some sort of small berm and, maybe, that would kind of be a natural demarcation and then some natives inside there, but like for that to be considered.
Maybe something to connect it to the intermittent stream that you're trying to improve back there. Right, I think Mr. Danzer said there was no water source to it right now, other than it's at the bottom of a steep hill.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that may be a question to answer and I don't know if Mr. Dancer knows that answer. I'm going to switch back. Are they proposing to fill in over this wetland here?
No. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problem.
Yeah, no, I believe that basically what they want to do is continue to maintain that area as lawn. They might bring in a little bit more topsoil in some areas around the foundation, but there's really going to be no change of use other than what is currently done, what is being currently used.
They may need, through you, Mr. Chair, they may need to consider how water is going to run through this yard, so they don't wind up having a low spot somewhere else if they bring in topsoil over here.
Yeah, it's just going to be an inch or two of topsoil. There's going to be no significant change of grade. The current stormwater patterns are going to be maintained fully.
Okay. Got it.
Mr. Carn, Mr. DeFilmeri, go ahead.
Do we have any earlier records of this property from the original from the original drawings and when it was originally built, I should say. That might give us a view as to what was done. I see that we have some thought about the condition of the land there, and the original records may give us some insight into that.
I'm not sure what insight we would get from that. Honestly, we have everything documented pursuant to the soil study. I'm not particularly interested in what information. I'm not sure what compelling information you're looking for.
Wouldn't we maybe be better off with this, with a decent lawn that's going to filter the water that runs down across versus what's there for the wetlands that's existing near the brook?
Yeah,
And limit the kind of fertilizer that you would use on this lawn.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Shalafo might want to consider if you're doing a lawn all the way through, some kind of filtering or a dense vegetative buffer between the brook and this area, so that and any nutrients could be taken up before they enter that waterway, which gets to Long Island Sound. It has a large wetland to go through first, but
Yeah.
That might be a consideration.
Might I ask just for a quick clarification? I guess I'm not, I don't think I understand that fully because I mean, the whole purpose of this is to put buffer plantings between the water course and the edge. That's
Okay.
kind of what she's already doing, so I'm not quite sure what that concern is. I mean, that was driving her site plan design was to actually accomplish that.
Okay.
Mr. Matthew Connors.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I mean, my only concern with the site, which I think the new plan improves the site significantly. My only concern would be obviously the disturbance part. It looks to me, I haven't seen this in person, but it looks to me that there is no ability for a habitat there for anything that we would be concerned about. Mary Rose, would you agree?
I'm through you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure there's urban tolerant species that are in there. I don't know that I don't believe there's any natural diversity database hits in that area. It's pretty, you've got a major road, a main two-lined road along one edge of that intermittent water course. And then you've got an entry to a fairly large populated area in front of the house. So it's kind of urban to have a significant amount.
And just my opinion on as far as this yard with the skunk cabbage, as far as I see on the site map, the adjacent house actually is built on the wetland. Would you agree? From what I was looking at where the wetland line is? I think it was maybe.
Oh, the other one. Yep, hold on. That's the next one. The adjacent subdivision, we should have old plans on because that's newer. This original house, we're not going to have original plans on. I know I think these houses were done right before I got here, back in the late 80s, early 90s. The wetlands run through the backyards in various areas. We can double check this house and see what was on this lot.
So my whole point was, as far as leaving it as is, I really don't see where the water is going to begin with and how we are going to improve that site because of that adjacent building.
So you're saying that improving the isolated wetland doesn't have value because it's isolated.
I'm trying to get your opinion on that. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm assuming because of that building, it kind of cuts off any sort of water filtration to the brook.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but the brook is back here. You've got water coming down from the street towards the brook. My only concern is that we don't get this higher and we bring their water problem back to here. We need to give the water that's here and coming onto the property and across the property a way to safely get to the brook and through the backyard.
Gotcha.
And drain. Otherwise, they're going to spend a lot of money to make it pretty, but there's going to be a big wet spot somewhere.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's a very good point, Mary Rose. Thank you for making that clear. Any other questions that we would like Mr. Danzer to take back to the landscape designer? And Mr. Danzer, it's probably from this conversation, it's probably fine the way it is, that isolated area. The main, functions and values that will be improved by that entire corridor will be sort of the net benefit. Looks good.
Okay.
And I believe since there's no other questions, we can accept this application this evening and entertain a motion at the next meeting. We cannot make a decision this evening.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. If there's any additional information that you want from the landscape architect, is essentially a clarification of the planting types, right? And the amount of fill.
And confirmation to your point that the overall design is not going to impede water flow or present another problem. Thank you for coming before us, Mr. Danzer, and all the work that you and the team have done on this, and Mr. Bowman.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Great. We'll move on to E2. Mary Rose, you want to introduce E2, please?
Sure. Hold on a second. I will switch the screen. Number E2 is 23051. It is 204 Honeycomb Lane. There we go. This is a proposal by Carlos Diaz to construct a 900 square foot portion of a single family home, or reconstruct a 900 square foot portion of a single family home on an existing foundation at 204 Honeycomb Lane in the Housatonic River watershed. There is a pond on the southwest corner of the property. It is not immediately adjacent to, and it is immediately adjacent to the road. It is not immediately adjacent to the constructed area. Mr. Diaz is proposing to construct the new living areas on the same foundation. The kitchen and living room have been demolished. I visited the site today, and the lawn area between the foundation and the pond is stabilized with vegetation. There are no open soil conditions. The landscape surrounding the demolished portion of the house is intact. The sidewalk, my sidewalk notes, and we had some difficulty getting them in the links today. We had technical difficulty with that. Mr. Diaz has uploaded some photos and a video that Taft has put in the links. And we have with us this evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Cotaspoti, and Mr. Diaz, and the contractor, Mr. Perfetto. If you give me a second, I can get those photos up for you. I believe this is a photo of how the house was. This is the room. Everything to the right of the green door is what's been removed. You see this landscaping and stonework is all still in place and intact. This is looking at the property from the street. So this area now is all gone, and this stonework is still intact, and the grass is still intact. So it's just this area here. They're going to do some work on this porch here and replace this deck here. It is within our 100-foot area. You have a steep slope coming across here, but this whole grass area is intact. I'm going to stop this share and see if I can't access the photos from today. In the meantime, you've got the applicant and his consultant and his contractor.
Yeah. But if they demolish it and didn't do anything to it, then I don't believe they're going to hurt it rebuilding it.
Okay, so what you're seeing now hopefully is a screenshot from today. The pond is to the left of this photo. To the right is the area, it wasn't great placement, but to the right is the area that's been taken down. You can see the house. This is that door you saw. The grass is fine. In this photo, you've got the pond and the grass. And where are the rest of the photos? There we go. This is the house as it's been, the portion of the house that's been removed. See the landscaping is intact. And that's a picture from far away. That was the green door you saw in the original picture with the house in place. And that's what I have. Just a new share or.
Thank you, Mary Rose. To the owner, Mr. Diaz, I guess it is. Is there anything you'd like to add to the record that hasn't already been stated?
Just one quick point. It was mentioned that that deck was being replaced, and that deck is not being replaced. It's only a reconstruction of the living room and kitchen areas.
Okay. Mr. Cotaspoti, is there anything you'd like to add to the record that hasn't already been said.
Just basically that if you look at the site plan, just for a little history, this is lot 8 of a subdivision that was built, I think in 1991-ish, around there, 1992. This was the existing house that was part of the subdivision. It predates the subdivision. But on the pond area, you can see we are going to install silt fencing around the pond, just as a precaution, even though we're not bringing in any additional materials such as any soils or anything like that. It's just a precaution to make sure the pond is stable while the portion of the foundation is rebuilt upon. So we're not expanding the footprint, we're not expanding the use. It's just a reconstruction of what was there.
Thank you. Pretty minimal concerns here. I'm in favor of a jurisdictional ruling on this application. Mr. Connors, do you have a motion to that effect?
I have a motion to have Mary Rose issue a jurisdictional ruling on this. I don't see where they're going to disturb anything.
Agreed. Motion's been made. Do you have a second on the motion, please?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. DiFlameri. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Lisa, roll call vote.
Ranjit Bahav,
Yes.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Aye.
Dave DiFlameri,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Mr. Diaz, Mr. Codespoti. Good luck with the project.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving on to next agenda item, consideration E, I think it's E. Yeah, the minutes from the previous meeting that were distributed from July 19th. Do we have a motion to accept those as presented, please?
I'll make the motion.
We have a second on the motion.
Second.
You have a second and a motion and a second. Do we have discussion on the motion? Very done. Lisa, roll call vote.
Who seconded? Did Dave second?
Yes.
Ranjit Bahav?
I would like to abstain because I wasn't there last time.
Yep. Jim Connors,
Yes.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
I have to abstain as well.
Dave DiFlameri,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye. Brendan
Magnan.
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes. Mary Rose, passing it to you for staff report.
Alrighty, all your reference materials are on the link that's on the notes here and that Taft sends you every week. It's got your minutes, your regulations, meeting dates, things like that, training opportunities. Haven't been a lot of changes on sites. We've got a number of sites that have submitted as-built that I'm working through, minor fixes that they need to finish, and we should be returning those bonds shortly. Other than that, it's just been busy with the intermittent rains. We're getting flooding in different places and dealing with those things. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No.
No questions. Thank you very much, Mary Rose. Thanks for all your information and getting us organized for this evening with the applications. Moving on to Chair's report. The next meeting is September 6th. Please make sure to let the office know if you're unable to attend. Thanks for everybody for your time this evening. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
It's been seconded.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Matthew Connors, Dave DiFlameri,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.
Good night.
Not all.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Lindsay, or Blessing, we're all done.
Jim, did you have a question? Sorry, you said something and I didn't catch it. Maybe not. Jim, did you say something? I didn't hear.
No, I